on behalf of Department of Peace, ATM College of Engineering, myself GIRISH, Assistant Professor and one of the coordinator of the webinar, and I'm going to address this session with preparing the certified LabVIEW Associate Developer or a CLAD exam. Okay, how to prepare for the CLAD exam. Okay, anyhow, on behalf of I heartily welcome you all for this session. Okay. So in this session, mainly I focus on not only on the topic which you went through in the previous sessions. I mainly concentrate on what is the flow or a growth flow should we have as a professional in the LabVIEW or a core environment. Okay, so you know that LabVIEW is a kind of graphical programming language, okay, where developer without like sufficient knowledge, even though they can build a program that may work in a good way. So in order to do that, we should have a clear picture on the LabVIEW environment, what are the things which will come in the LabVIEW. Okay, so here then I'll go into before starting it, let me check the participants whether they have joined. Okay, so if number of participants are good, then we can easily start the session. Yes, I hope many members will join. Anyhow, fine, that's fine for me. Yes, might be there are so many aspirants, that's why we are targeted mainly onto the pre-final year students for this webinar, because they have to carry out their academic internship. Okay. Main focus here is if you choose LabVIEW as for your academic internship, what it can get as a like additional benefit, okay, upon clearing the internship as well as the CLAD exam, of course, if you are able to do. Okay, so anyhow, let me come to the part what the level you should pursue in the LabVIEW. Okay, there are like three different levels that you can pursue in the LabVIEW environment. First one is foundation, next one is experience, and third one is mastery. Okay, now simultaneously I'll show you in the pointers. Okay, so this is a foundation and this is a experience and this is a mastery. Okay, so here each one level, of course, they can build you as an engineer in LabVIEW environment basically. Okay, so in the foundation, basically you'll be as a technician or a basic developer, you're going to work. Okay, so here in the basic developer, you need to frequently use the LabVIEW code. Okay, otherwise we can also call infrequent LabVIEW developer or casual coder. Okay, sometimes you can spend at least 10 hours per week is good enough to develop some applications in LabVIEW. Okay, of course you're going to work only on one LabVIEW project. That might be your mini project or that might be your academic project. Okay, so which will going to give you as a basic developer, and of course in the foundation course or in the foundation level, you're going to work with less than 50 number of VIs. Okay, I hope VIs is nothing but the project files created in virtual instrument. Okay, so now next one is experience, where software engineer we call. Okay, so using the LabVIEW, if you are regular, okay, to develop the applications, at that time you'll become experience. Designing and developing of medium to large application, of course, the VI numbers may range from 50 to 500 VIs. Okay, so significantly main this experience level, of course you can able to modify or upgrade the previously developed code, okay, using modularity in the program that can be learned later. Okay, so that is a main part of experience level. And if you come to the mastery, we call them as a software architect. Okay, so here you're going to build or design the architecture for many applications that may cross 500 plus VIs. okay, from high level design requirements, of course, that might be given by many companies. Okay, so project a team of more than one LabVIEW developer. Once you become mastery, you can also like suggest or you can monitor many people, those who work on LabVIEW. Okay, so working in this regulated industry like automotive or a medical or a aero or a military, okay, so where you should become mastery. Okay, so of course in this you're going to be learn with critical applications that is dealt for the accomplishment of the mission of the company. Okay, and of course you have a tutorial how to navigate the LabVIEW learning curve. You can also get the same in the ni.com/training website. Okay, so next one is certification path. The main part is this one of our webinar. Okay, so as you know that in the 3 day we can't know we can't get you to the certification exam. Okay, but even though we have built from the challenges set by the Vishweshan sir, and later on, actually, many of the academicians of ATME has been given with the same simple examples how the environment will looks like. Now I am going to give you the what are the topics which are going to important for clearing the CLAD exam. Okay, so this is what the way, and I hope at the last slide I'm going to discuss what are the things you should carry out in order to clear the CLAD exam. Okay, might be I'll one after the other I'll going to cover each and everything. Okay, so basically in the training and certification path we'll be having LabVIEW Core 1 and Core 2. So that will always give you the certified associate developer. Okay, certified LabVIEW associate developer. So that means in order to clear the exam, the LabVIEW Core 1 and Core 2 is good enough. Okay, and the beauty of this certification courses, whatever the material is being available in the LabVIEW Core 1 and Core 2 manual, which is good enough if you have practice with LabVIEW environment in order to clear the CLAD exam. Okay, and CLAD exam is a basic type of basic type of entry level exam, and you'll be having some fundamentals on LabVIEW applications. Okay, how to create the simple applications using LabVIEW is a major important part, and how you're going to access them, how you're going to control them. Okay, and of course some core features and functions of LabVIEW should be known. Okay, and of course what is the debugging features and how to maintain the LabVIEW models. Okay, if you are good enough with all these fundamentals, and of course you can clear the CLAD exam. And the next level is certified developer. Okay, that is CLD, that is certified LabVIEW developer. Okay, in order to do that, you should be a modularity. You should be able to know modularity means what, how to program with sub VIs, what is the structure design. Okay, anyhow, that is the next part of CLAD. Okay, so once you clear the CLAD, then next part is certified LabVIEW developer, that is CLD, and next one is certified LabVIEW architect, CLA. Okay, so that's what the previous slide which shows, that is foundation, experience, mastery. Okay, so the same thing they have been called with a certified associate developer, certified developer, okay, and certified architect of LabVIEW. Okay, so anyhow my part is very much importantly on this one. Okay, LabVIEW Core 1 and Core 2 are a CLAD exam. Okay, so this is what training and certification part, and the fees for this exam is 2000 rupee. Okay, 2000 rupee plus GST for the exam. It is not for the training and all, only for the CLAD exam. And if you are get okay like 80% of the marks, then for the next year also can also try to attend the exam without any fee. So that is the beauty of they provide in the that is how they are going to offer you to take up the exam. Anyhow, I'll going to give you the benefits later. You may choose whether you can carry out, or you can just have a sufficient training at them. Okay. As I said, in the LabVIEW Associate Developer, which is a kind of objective style of exam, you'll be having 1 hour exam. Okay, scheduled via like Pearson View web page. Okay, so and then it will be evaluated automatically, and the thing is, result is available upon completion of the exam itself. Okay, certificate is made by the concerned authority or a competing authority, which will going to finalize. Okay, so other than this, the very much important part is you'll be have to get out of 40 questions, you need to answer 28. Okay, if 28 items, then clear. Okay, so anyhow, once we have a internship training or sufficient training, at that time also we can discuss on the same. Okay, and then the next one is certified developer as a 4 hour long, and it's a practical development exam, and it's later on we're going to discuss all this. Okay, now, so the main important part, okay, of is what are the topics which will be there at the preparation for the CLAD exam. Okay, so once you say CLAD preparation, basically whatever like the previous sessions were taught with what is basic of function palette and front panel, how to control them, how to execute them. Okay, what is the highlighting execution, what are the debugging tools, like this, or whatever the basic functionality which will have. Okay, so the same thing, for loop, while loop, arrays, strings, all should be covered. But even though the same topics, small, very important, minute topics are there. Okay, that may be missed. Okay, that may be missed, and some additional concepts that may also come in the exam. Okay, that's why most commonly missed topics and additional concepts that you need to have. I have listed out, and I'm sure I'll not do even to discuss all this in my tutorial. Okay, I'll be taking only 2 or 3, and of course, what is the type of question they're going to appear in the CLAD exam, that I'm going to discuss. Okay, so this is what the table I'm to show the presentation once the completion of webinar. Okay, so that you can just bring it out all these applications in LabVIEW environment, and you can become excel in doing the same. Okay, so if you are able to do all this, then of course you can easily clear the CLAD exam. That is a basic important part of the this tutorial. Okay, now most commonly missed topics I'll move. Okay, so coercion dart, and of course you have been like added with addition, programmed with addition, multiplication, division, like that. Okay, so once you have some red dot in the line, we call it as coercion dot, which might be missed in the while we doing some example, because we know that what are the data representation format we need to take for addition. Okay, similarly for subtraction, for similarly for division too. Okay, at that time we may not be come across with all this kind of errors or a coercion dots or any kind of this representation. Okay, so there is a red dot, an indication, okay, which will going to be at the input terminals. Okay, so which will going to indicate that the LabVIEW has converted the value into a different numeric representation because of data mismatch. Okay, that is a very important, the coercion dot. Okay, LabVIEW coerces the value to the data type with largest number of bits, and of course before knowing all this, you should be able to recall the data representation of, and which are the integers format, unsigned integer format. Okay, what do you mean by I8, I32, all this DBL, all this you should know. Okay, so these are the basics, but people may do many addition examples in the program, but the thing is will not be concentrated on coercion dot. So this kind of questions will arise in LabVIEW exam, that we need to take care. When does a coercion dot appear? Okay, when it will going to appear, as I said, the data conversion is forced due to mismatched numeric representation between the terminals. Okay, so while you're taking the terminals and indicators of any operation, Okay, you should be very careful about the data representation. Okay, otherwise a question dot will occur. Okay, so this is what which of the following statement is true regarding the question dot. Like this, the questions will be there in the CLAD exam. That's it. Okay, very few people will miss this actually. Okay, but one who want to clear the exam easily proceed with the things what we require in order to clear the exam. That's the main important part. Okay, so here as I said, question dot will indicate the certain data type is being wired to the terminal and that will going to accept a different but compatible data type. When this happens, of course LabVIEW will going to converts the data due to the last two data types. Okay, this requires a creation of memory buffer to store the quest data. Okay, so now the option both B and C should be chosen because B says that a quotient dot will represent a conversion from one type to another. Of course, quotient dot increases the memory usage because in order to in order to convert the requested data, you should have a memory buffer to store it. Okay, that is called both B and C are the options. This kind of questions will arise in the exam that you need to take care while you're doing the examples. Okay, so now can you just look at here what will be the result after running this VI? So this kind of questions again they may appear in the exam. Clear? So X is also DBL and Y is also DBL. Okay, but the X plus Y is given as I16, that is integer 16. What is the range? What is the answer you're going to get? Say X is 1.2 and Y is so X is 1.5 and Y is 1.2. What is the result you'll get? Of course, if you add this, you'll get 2.7. Somebody will click on this, but they don't know that will indicate at this. Okay, so once you have a data representation at the input side and what is the data you will get at the output side, that you should also aware. Okay, so I16 is a kind of integer where data is coerced and it is rounded up to nearest integer. Okay, I16. Then the data representation of I16, I8, I32. Similarly, you should know for unsigned, signed, okay, integers, are the whole numbers, are the DBL. Okay, so these are the simple things we are going to miss out. Okay, but once we have a sufficient program and them are sufficient examples and them we never miss all this, and this is a very easy kind of questions you can easily get exam. Okay, and loops I won't repeat this because already you have been come across with for loop and while loop. Okay, the things are very clear. In the for loop you will be having first terminal, that is where from it will going to iterate and where it should stop. And in the while loop, of course, the terminal iteration terminal depends on only I. Okay, until unless it will going to be stopped by externally or by some condition, right? So these are the things you should be. And of course, the important part is to be remembered is while loop must execute at least once, even though it is zero, even though condition is true. Okay, while loop will going to execute one time at least, but where the case of for loop may not have okay the execution at all. Okay, so depends upon the n value. For loops, for the for loops can execute 0 times as well. Okay, so now if you just take it out, there's a what will happen some shown on the for loop sum. So here the loop sum is given and while loop sum is also given. Okay, and what is the indicator value when the program is run? What is the for loop sum value? What is the while loop sum value? And the iteration value that is going to be expected. Okay, so for this you need to take it out as a rough book and you need to write like for the first time it will going to run 0, second time what will happen and where the data will going to move with shift register and all. Okay, so this kind of questions will arise. Okay, so if you like to take out the for loop, so this is what the condition where for the stop condition met for the first case, let's say I equals to 0. Okay, I equals to 0, that's also kind of iteration. Okay, so at that time There's nothing will happen. 0 will be moved and 1 will be added. For loop sum value is 1. Okay, and again the one shift register will come where the next condition, stop condition met. Of course, it will go into does not execute because at that time it will stop. Then result will be remains at 1 itself. This is the thing you should carry out while you discussing on loops, okay, or the while loops. Okay, so this kind of questions will of course arise. If you come to the while loop, what's the while loop sum? And of course, for the first one, say 0 plus 1, 0, which is not equal to 0, so it will go into does not stop. 0 plus 1, which will go to be added as 1, and 1 will move here. Okay, so then for the second stage, let's say this is a 1 and this will become 0. So second condition is true, but also already being data is moved. Okay, 1 plus 1 2, so the 2 is a while loop sum value. Okay, so this is what the way of analyzing the questions. Okay, so the for loop sum value is 1, iteration is 0, and while loop sum is equal to 2. Okay, so shift registers, which is most important, and you have been come across with this and how the data will be moved. So for stacked shift register, that's the major important. One shift register you maybe have. Okay, suppose you have like stacked shift registers and how the data will be moved. Okay, the important thing is shift register can be resized to say multiple previous values, which will going to retain a certain number of previous value. Oldest one gets removed as needed. Okay, so let's say this is a. Okay, so A will be going to move at this part. Okay, to say once if it is not required, the data will be erased by the output value. Okay, since it is being moved. Okay, so once it is crosses the shift register stack value, then of course which is going to be wind up. Okay, that is removed. Okay, that is the thing you should understand in the case of shift register. Okay, so now after 3 iteration, what will be the value at the iteration D? So this is what the kind of questions which will going to appear on the shift register. Okay, say 0 at the after 3 iteration means what? Iteration number 0, iteration number 1, iteration number 2. For the first iteration is in the previous data I have taken actually. Okay, so 2 5 3 9 1. Okay, so if you come to the 2 5 3 9 1, so 2 for the first iteration, 5 for the first next iteration, and 3 for the next iteration. Okay, so then after 3 iteration, what will be the data indicator value at D? Okay, D should be known to you. Okay, so D should be known to you. So then if you choose, okay, so here after 2 iteration, the first one which will become 2, second one which will become 5, and third one which will become 3. Okay, after 3 iteration will be loaded with D value we don't know. Okay, because 2 will be moved to C, 5 will be moved to B, and 3 will be moved to A. So where D value is unknown. So this is what very important. If you want a justification for this, since this shift register is uninitialized because we don't have any number on this point. Okay, after 3 iteration, the shift register attached to the indicator D will not have any value. If this VI was run previously, it would contain some value on the shift register. Okay, of course, that is a very important point, but we don't have like any initialized value here. For that reason, it is a unknown. So this kind of questions which may have. Okay, so now similar kind of questions will of course arise. The next one is feedback node. Feedback node is a kind of shift register topic. The function like a shift register. Of course, it can set initial value by wiring them into the terminal on the left side of the loop. Okay, so you maybe know this, right? Random number generator 0 to any. Okay, and then you have this kind of feedback node which will going to pass the output to the input terminal. That's it. Okay, feedback node, it's also like a shift register. That's a very important part. Okay, so if you just have a look on this, okay, what will be what the number will be added to the random number on the first iteration of this loop. Okay, so what number will be added to the random number on the first iteration loop? What might be the answer? And of course, it's a 5 because it's already initiated. Feedback node is exactly like a shift register, since the shift is like a tunnel which is connected, or the feedback node which is connected with the 5. The 5 will be added at the first iteration. Okay, so this kind of questions you need to analyze. That's it. Okay, and timing functions. Timing functions are also most important topics in the case of LabVIEW. Okay, so timing functions. Of course, we need to wait for some time, or we need to count the time, or we need to wait for some next multiple seconds in order to execute the data. Otherwise, sometime you need to get the date and time where the function is moving or function is occurred. Okay, so that at that time also you need to have a clear picture on timing functions. Okay, so there are like wait until next multiple, okay, tick count, get the time when you want to update the data or report everything. Okay, so that at that time you need to get the date and time. That's also possible. Okay, so control or measure the frequency at which a loop executes. That's also very important. Okay, and provide the processor with the time to complete other tasks such as processing the user interfaces. Okay, uses the operating system in millisecond clock. So this is the important point about the timing functions. Okay, so if you come to the wait function, or wait in milliseconds, wait, it's going to wait for a specified input number of milliseconds. Okay, that you, as you know. Okay, it's going to perform something asynchronously only after the specified wait time. Does not interrupt parallel code because you have given that it's going to wait. Loops will not iterate until the function returns. Okay, so these are very important to remember with respect to function. Okay, so similarly, the like scenario which will going to repeat for wait millisecond, function will begins its count when the loop begins executing. The code will execute in 5 milliseconds and the loop will not continue until an additional 5 milliseconds elapses. This is wait time. Okay, now like loop iterates at 10. Okay, you have been completed at 5. Then the code might be waiting for 5 milliseconds because your waited time you've given this 10 milliseconds. Code might be having 5 milliseconds, even though it will going to wait for another 5 milliseconds to be elapsed. Okay, so that is the kind of timing function you need to analyze. Okay, then wait until next multiple second. Okay, next millisecond multiple. So let's see, which will going to, of course, which will going to function on asynchronously, and first iteration may be shorter than the specified ms multiple input. At that time, what it will going to do? Say this is a wait until next multiple, which will going to work. See here, see the picture here. So for when it's been started, let's say 5 milliseconds the code has been run, 52. Okay, so 20 multiples 40, 60, right? So 40 being 47, at 47 it has been started. So in the next multiple is 60. So loop will going to iterate at this point. Okay, so this is what very important to do. So similarly, have another example. A 23 millisecond code is there. We're going to started at 0. Actually, execute till 23 milliseconds. Then next multiple is obviously it's present at 40. Okay, since 20 is the wait time we are given for the next multiple. At that time, which will going to repeat at 40. So this kind of with respect to time function, we need to analyze. Okay, tick count, which will going to return the value of windows in millisecond timer. okay, which will going to rolls over 2 per milliseconds. Okay, so that is the maximum scale of that. And this tick count, which cannot be used to extract the real world data time. Okay, because we have another one function is get date and time that will going to build, that will going to do that work. Okay, so that is a very important thing. And if you come to the useful for finding the duration of executing the code, of course, which will going to anyhow it rolls over some value, tick count value, and of course it will going to get the duration of execution of the code. Okay, so timing function. Now, which of the timing function is best choice for timing control logic in application that run for extended period of time? Okay, so of course, what is the answer for this? Of course, you should get the date and time because it is going to store when it is going to be lapsed. Okay, at what time it has been started, till what time it may be extended. Okay, so that can be easily tracked out using the time function called as get time and date in seconds. Okay, so the wait function can be added for while loops. Okay, it can be added for while loops. Yes, of course, we can add for the while loops in order to what? In order to allow the processor time, in order to allow the processor time to complete the other task. That's it. Okay, in a while loop, and you know that while function is going to be repeatedly work out. Okay, repeatedly execute. Okay, in such case, if you want to be allow the processor time to complete other tasks at that time, wait millisecond can be also be used in while loops. Okay, that is the primary thing. Okay, similarly, these are the kind of topics which we never like might be concentrated, but even though the questions may come in the exam, that is property nodes. Property nodes which will going to access the properties of an object, which will going to be enable you to modify the appearance of the front panel objects programmatically in response to some certain inputs, and of course which will going to execute from top to bottom. And you have like this, you can have many number of properties can also be set or configured on single node or a single front panel object. Okay, so it will going to execute top to bottom by default, which will going to be at the top first, whatever the functions or the properties which will going to be give, it will going to be execute one by one. Okay, if you say, for example, if you say if a user enters the invalid password, you might want like a red LED to start blinking. Okay, if the data point is above certain value, you might want some show red trace instead of green one. Okay, see function, you have like red indication two functions at that time, two properties can also be set. Okay, so this is what very important. Okay, so this is what the a property node also can be like explicit or implicit. Okay, implicit means what? Within the property of the node itself, which have the function. Otherwise, you can might be have a chance to change explicitly. Okay, explicitly, and say explicitly means you can also change the color, plot of the color. Okay, plot name, everything. Okay, so this is what the type of that is allowed by the. Okay, so now let me come to the invoke nodes. In the property node kind of nodes, you have a invoke node. Use the invoke nodes to perform some actions or methods, okay, on some reference or the controls. Some reference item or the controls. Of course, you have most methods. Okay, so you using front panel, you can also to center them and default values. You can reinitialize all to the default value in invoke nodes. Okay, and you can also print the VI to the HTML. Okay, by using this kind of invoke node by passing the parameters. Okay, so anyhow, once we have like a LabVIEW environment in our end, we can also discuss on this in upcoming days. Okay, and property and invoke nodes. This is the most important thing. Okay, say property nodes can be used to programmatically read from an indicator or write to an control. Okay, so where invoke nodes can be used programmatically to control the state of the VI itself. Okay, the state of the VA itself, where property node which is on a variable, okay, where invoke nodes will be used for this in order to state the, in order to change the, or in order to control the state of the VA itself. Okay. So these are the like different uh, differences between implicitly and explicitly linking invoke and property nodes that well I never like go in dig. Okay, once we have a tool with us, we can easily go through on this. Okay, so these are like the very important part of the topics, property nodes. Okay, property nodes, if you are able to understand, then you can also get about 2 marks. Okay, 2 marks in the exam. Okay, so which is the, like this question will be, which is the combination of word correctly completes the following statement? Unlike implicit property nodes, okay, explicit property nodes require a control reference as an input in order to function correctly. Okay, so once we have once we set for any control object, okay, we can set so many properties. At that time, what is implicit function and explicit function, we can also how the wires are connected when the any inputs as reference, that can be discussed. Okay, so anyhow, you make a note of it. Property nodes are also most important. Okay, so now which plot will change color first? Now if you take out the property node of waveform graph, okay, so which, as you know that it's a top to bottom execution. Okay, so the thing is plot 1, which is a plot 1, because properties are executed from top to down. Okay, act plot 1, so which will going to be activated first. Okay, then which is the color, and this color will going to change first. Okay, so this, the thing you should know, that is property node will work in top to down approach. That is a major important part. Really, this kind of questions will arise in the property nodes too. I'll quickly move on to the next part, that is mechanical actions of Boolean. Now, in the first tutorial itself, you may me come across with mechanical actions of Boolean. Okay, you might be have like switches. Okay, once the switch is pressed, your LED should turn on. Once the number is pressed, okay, your some other indication should be turned. But the behavior of this Boolean control specified by some mechanical action, because you know that in many cases you'll be having like computer keyboards where the switch will work when pressed, right? And some cases have like some switches you may be come across, that is mouse. Okay, that until you hold it will work. If you release, it will going to stop. So this is called the mechanical actions of switches or the booleans. Okay, so that will going to be how it will going to be read depending upon the button position. Okay, and what is the voltage at and what is the circuitry diagram. Okay, so push button, here you can have like the first one is place Boolean on the front panel, open the Boolean properties. If you want to check it out, what are the properties which is available? 6 properties is available: switch when pressed, switch when released, switch until released. Okay, latch when pressed, latch when released, and latch until released. Okay, for everything behavior expression diagram is there. If you just check it out, okay, then we'll be having what is the selected behavior of it, okay, clearly. Okay, anyhow, so this is, I've been already like placed out in simple examples, okay, now to understand the 6 different actions of Boolean objects. Okay, switch when pressed, like a light switch, okay, which will going to turn on when you go to press. Switch when released, like a mouse. Okay, so mouse OK button, you know that once you click on it, the function will select. Once you release it, the mouse function will work, right? Okay, so that's a kind of switch until release. Door buzzer, the best example. Okay, so until you hold the door buzzer, okay, so buzzer will make a sound. Once you stop, or if you take out the hand or a finger outside, buzzer will stop. Door buzzer. This is a basic example on switch. Okay, latch when pressed, circuit breaker. Latch when released, of course, it's a dialog box. Okay, latch until release, of course, it's a door buzzer itself. Okay, so the same kind of things which will happen in the case of Boolean objects. So these are the things you should be very careful while you analyzing on Boolean objects. Okay, which will going to be in detail taught in kind of like a week training program or kind of internship training program. Okay, in that we're going to discuss all this with a simple examples. For each and every case we can take some VI and we can discuss. Okay, that's a very much important part. Okay, so this is about mechanical Boolean action. Otherwise you can just open your NI example folder and you can select the mechanical action booleans.vi, which is being already available in the help tutorial of NI. Okay, so that you can easily check it out. Okay, so mechanical action, and this is the type of questions which will going to appear, and I'll go to discuss in the next upcoming area. Okay, so this is what my important part to be remembered with respect to sequence structures. Once you say sequence structures, okay, so which will going to be execute. As you know, in the previous tutorial, you will be having case structure or event structure. Okay, so you might be have like flat sequence and stacked sequence structures. Okay, if 1, 2, or 3 are stacked together, which looks like only one sequence, then it's a stacked sequence. Okay, where the flat sequences one after the other. Okay, so each frame will begin with leftmost frame and ending with rightmost frame. So this is what thing. Okay, so the previous frame must complete before next frame executes. Okay, so data can be passed out between the loops or between the tunnels or between the frames. Once the sequence begins, it cannot be stopped. This is the most biggest part of the flat sequence. Okay, this is called stacked sequence. Stacked sequence means you will be having like execute frame 0, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3 until last frame executes. Okay, which is being stacked together. Okay, and of course, once the sequence begins, it cannot be stopped. Might be whatever the logic part which you'll be having inside the sequence that might execute. Okay, so stacked sequence not to transfer between the frames which will be used. Okay, so this is what very much important. And of course, my part of explanation will also begin with event structures, okay, where event structures will works like a case structure with a built-in wait-on notification. So for this we have a like notify events. Okay, notifiers and events are there. Like how the value change in the value, or if you drag out the, now you maybe come across with like once you bring your mouse near some function, let's say submit button, okay, which will go to activate. Until that it will go into like a arrow mark. Once you have like submit button, okay, which will be like turn into, or that icon will be like enabled, okay, which is going to blink. So this is what we call a filtered event. Okay, so mouse down, mouse up, value change. Okay, so this kind of events can also be linked with the case structure with wait on notification functions. Okay, so when which will going to execute, code executes only when event occurs. Okay, until unless like you are going to move the mouse, which never take the submission. Okay, so this kind of actions which are also included, that is called as events or a notifier or filtered events. Okay, now anyhow, I'm going to be move the event structure. Okay, so here you can just take an example of it. Event is a programmatical tool for handling the events, which is also kind of case structure with specialized type. And the execution of code here can be dependent on whether you're going to happen with the event or not. That's it. Okay, so that's a very much important thing. Okay, so it will going to wait for an event to occur indefinitely unless configured timeout. Okay, if the event is not happen, of course, now you've been like I have been come across with like ATM machine. Okay, for 2 minutes or like 30 seconds or 60 seconds, depending upon the programmer that or the bank which is going to set the criteria. Okay, so if you are like inserted the card and you are not entered the pin for about 2 minutes, then what will happen? Nothing will happen. It will going to come back to the main screen because it is asking for some event to be occurred, otherwise configured to be timed out. Okay, which are going to check both. Okay, have been entered a pin or which will going to wait for a 2 minutes, whichever comes earlier, which will going to respond for it. Okay, so this is a way of like we'll be having event structure with some kind of mouse down, mouse up, okay, mouse enter, mouse leave. Okay, like this you can be having many functions. Okay, so this is called as filtered events. Anyhow, notified filtered events. Okay, here whatever the functions which is available as an event for mouse, let's say I have taken for a mouse. Here you'll be having see 6 different events: mouse down, mouse enter, mouse leave, mouse move, mouse up. Okay, so whichever like filtered events which will going to be user performs some action but event is not processed. Okay, at that time which is called as filtered events. Okay, and the green events are called as notify events. Notify events means what? And of course user action has to be already occurred. Okay, so if it is already being taken, okay, which will going to show the this event is already taken. Okay, so this is what a green and like red indication which will going to be have like value change, as I said. Okay, button value change. Suppose you are given some 1 or 2 or a numeric. If the value change in the numeric, or a drag or drop or a key buttons. Okay, so that might be chosen. So this is what notify and filter events configure window, and we can check it out through, of course, once we have a tool with us. Okay, so anyhow, so event structures. Now let me come back to a simple example on it. Okay, so that you can easily understood this. When user clicks the button control, how many times is the increment function called? Okay, so now say let's say I have a button here. Okay, I have a button here. If it is pressed, okay, how many times the loop will execute? So button pressed, you can just check button pressed and mouse down. Okay, once you want to press the button, it will going to move up the mouse. Once the button is pressed, it will going to take out the mouse, right? So mouse down is also a event. So it will going to work out with the 2 times because you have options where only event is on both button and the pin. Okay, the pin function mouse down and button is pressed. Okay, so 2 events are registered. The code will execute twice. Okay, so this kind of things which is going to appear on the event structures. Okay, so this is what most important. And now, so if you want to learn about racing condition, a race condition, you have addition and multiplication functional palettes or functional diagrams in a same VI. At that time, now you just look at the diagrams and let me know the value. You have a multiplication first. Okay, 5. The answers might be value into 5 plus 2, value plus 5, value plus 2 into 5. Okay, or value into 5, whatever like you have given, value into 5 might be value. Okay, or value plus 2 might be a value. Okay, so this kind of questions will arise race condition. Okay, that can also be like resolved by having some local variables, functional variables and all. Okay, I'm going to discuss all these in the tutorials which will taken up in the internship. Okay, so anyhow, up to this, I'll going to have anyhow. I'll just quickly move on to the yeah. I'll quickly move on to the next. You have like another 2-3 slides. Yeah, fine. Yeah. Let me check the time. Yeah, fine. So as I said, I'll be having like modularity, sub-programs. Okay, I'll going to discuss all this in internship and all. Okay, so anyhow, I'll directly move on to CLAD exam clearance ticks. Okay, so we'll be having this is the most important part of the webinar because in order to just to tell all this, we have been like conducted. How does the webinar? What is the importance of LabVIEW? Okay, so in order to clear the exam, you should be aware of. Okay, you should be aware of LabVIEW environment. That's the primary step you need to perform. Okay, so and of course you need to dedicate 4 hours per day with the LabVIEW environments. That is good enough to clear the CLAD exam and learn all samples or examples by creating own VI using tool. So and the next step is join at least 4 weeks of NI training, which might be provided at NI or we may conduct at a college level. Okay, so anyhow, that whichever you feel comfortable that you can take up the internship at least 4 weeks in order to adopt the skills easily. Okay, and of course try to earn the NI lab badges in a free of cost. Okay, if you go to the NI website, you'll be having like badges on the NI. Each badges will give you 15 questions. If you get 80%, each badge will come to your mail saying that you become expert in NI like LabVIEW programming environment, programming tools, or some functional palettes like that. Okay, for every like about like 12 to 13 badges are there. If you got all 13 badges and then you are able to clear CLAD exam with the examples which you need to take in. Okay, and of course solve the preparation material with honest effort, which might be a last trick I'm going to give because we have been clear with the exam with my students. About 19 members were cleared. Okay, that is the very like highest result in the Karnataka. Okay, so where one institution got 25 clear candidates were cleared the CLAD exam. That too last academic year, which is being done in our college campus itself. Okay, so that's why I suggest you personally to join the internship program. Okay, so and which is easy and might be not is the just a clearance tricks and what might be the direct additional benefit from this CLAD. That is a very important. Okay, if you come to the CLAD exam benefits, if you are a name or if you are a candidate with CLAD exam, then you're going to appear in the NI website because many companies will look the data from NI website. They'll directly call the person who clear the CLAD exam and directly he may call for a interview, for a personal interview. Okay, many core companies, as Vishweshwaran sir said, and his presentation was very nice with how many companies which are going to work out through LabVIEW. Okay, from small laboratories to till the defense industry, LabVIEW is a the NI instruments are used. That usage of instruments of NI interface. Software. If you are able to do all this, then of course you can directly jump into many core companies. Okay, and of course direct intern or placement at many companies without any preliminary test. Now you have like aptitude test. Okay, technical round. Okay, so if you are CLAD exam cleared candidate, then there is a direct benefit. Okay, direct benefit, that is without any preliminary test they're going to give like sample like cases which are going to deal. okay, in the personal interview itself. Okay, so they may ask like how you're going to solve this using LabVIEW. That may be asked. Okay, but you'll be having like sufficient LabVIEW environment knowledge that will going to help you out to clear the intern or a placement opportunity at the companies. Okay, and yourself can be a developer once you clear the further grades in LabVIEW. As I said, in the growth or levels you should pursue. Okay, so it should be an entry level, and it should be experience, and it should be mastery. Okay, so once you become a developer, okay, of course yourself can be open up with the startups based on the instruments. Okay, so this is what my presentation content. Okay, so if you have any further queries, you can also post in the chat box. Okay, so that might be sufficient for me to share the value. Okay, so if you have such feedbacks, you can also give. Okay, so otherwise, anyhow, for all the participants, the feedback form will be shared through mail. Please do fill out the feedback form of all the sessions. Okay, only one feedback form will be there for entire webinar. Okay, so upon completion of webinar, so feedback form, you're going to get your digital certificates. Okay, provided by ETM College of Engineering. Thank you for listening.